Alright, today we're going to unpack the Task 6 Analytical Essay for Lockie Leonard so that you can understand how you're going to be assessed for this task. We're going to go through each criteria and then have a look at the difference between an A, B and a C standard. Okay, if we start with this exploitation criteria here of a range of analytical essay genre patterns. So for this criteria, you're getting looked at your analytical tone, obviously writing in third person, that you've got an introduction with a thesis, 3 body paragraphs, with evidence and analysis, and then a conclusion. The difference between an A, B and a C is exploitation, effective, and then just a use of for purposes. Alright, for the second criteria here, a discerning selection, organisation and synthesis of relevant and substantive subject matter to support perspectives. So this is choice of teen issue and the quality of the examples that you choose to support your thesis. This is your direct quotes. Organisation and sequence in a logical order. Your word count also sits in this criteria here. Difference between an A, B and a C is the discerning, effective, and then just selection of, making sure that it is relevant subject matter for our essay. In the third criteria, knowledge and understanding, we're looking at a manipulation and control of roles of the writer, speaker, signer, and relationships with the audience. That's specifically having a look at third person, quality of your writing and formal tone, and making sure that there is an analysis aspect there. It's not a retell aspect with your quotes. Difference between an A, B and a C, we're looking at manipulation and control for an A, establishment and control for a B, and then establishment and maintenance for a C. In our second group of criteria, our constructing text one, we start with a discerning combination of a range of grammatically accurate language structures for specific effects, including clauses and sentences in written text. So in this criteria, we're having a look for varied sentence structure, the quality of your sentences as well, making sure that they're grammatically accurate, there's capitals, there's punctuation, and also your contextualization of quotes sits in there as well. Difference between an A, B and a C is a discerning combination for specific effects, B is a control to achieve effects, and C is a use of for some purposes. Our second criteria is the discerning use of mode-appropriate cohesive devices to develop and emphasize ideas and connect parts of text, including paragraphing in written text. So this is pretty self-explanatory. It is your paragraphing, your links to thesis, your links to next paragraph, etc. Ensure use of connectors and varied connectors for purposes. So your connectors are, as a result, therefore, consequently, etc. The difference between an A, B and a C. So we've got a discerning use to develop and emphasize ideas for an A, an effective use to develop and maintain ideas for a B, and a use of to link ideas for a C. Our vocab criteria is the next one that we're having a look at. So that's making sure that you're using formal language. It is a formal analytical essay. There's no slang, there's a contextualization of quotes and a range of different vocab for your purpose. So just not saying it the same way every time. For an A, you're using a discerning use for specific purpose, B is an effective use for specific purposes, and then a C is a use of for purposes. The last criteria in our constructing text is the discerning use of mode-appropriate features for specific effects. So there are written ones here. So this is, really about your referencing, making sure that that is formatted correctly, spelling, punctuation, things like that sit in there. So an A is discerning for specific, B is effective for just effects, and C is a suitable use of these for purposes. In our interpreting text criteria at the bottom here, we've got 3 different things that we have a look at. This is really where we have a look at your analysis, how you're proving your thesis, and then overall, the holistic nature of the piece. So for the first criteria, it's our discerning manipulation of the ways ideas, attitudes, and values underpin text and influence ideas. So here we're having a look at your quotes are relevant to your chosen teen issue. Okay, that your quote analysis upholds or detracts from the thesis. We're making sure that obviously we want to aim to make it uphold in our thesis here, and that you show the teen issue and how it is represented in Lockie Leonard. So that's our first criteria here. It's a lot of your analysis there. So discerning is an A, effective is a B, and then appropriate use is a C. For the second criteria, subtle and complex creation of perspectives and representations of concepts, identities, times, and places, that really comes down to you linking to thesis and proving your thesis with your analysis. The difference between an A, B, and a C is a subtle and complex creation of perspectives, an effective creation is a B, and then just a creation of is C. Lastly, our aesthetic features. That's the holistic nature of the piece. So for an analytical essay, you don't need to have a title. We want to make sure that it's formatted to look like an essay, that we've got your introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. There's no subheadings. You have formatted your quotes correctly, so the quotes are in quotation marks. You've then referenced the page number in brackets, so P dot number, close bracket. Really, we're asking the question, have you achieved the purpose of the analytical essay here? If you're mentioning the name Lockie Leonard, it needs to be in italics. And after you mentioned Tim Winton in the first instance, thereafter you refer to the author by their surname only. So the difference between an A, B, and a C is the discerning use for specific purposes, an effective use for specific purposes, and then just a use of for purposes. Hopefully this unpacks your criteria a little more and you can understand how you can get the best possible grade for this analytical essay. Remember to submit your drafts, ask your teacher if you're unsure of what you need to do. Good luck.